So I think that worked. Let's see. Can I just start? I can just start streaming like that. Fantastic. This is so much easier. Anyway, don't have too much time. I don't even have a startup shirt on right now, or a company shirt. What I want to do is say I'm going to be back later for the actual going over, but all day I've been thinking about the consumer side of consumption, this problem, and I don't know. So, how can I say this? I don't know if it is contributory to the overall project. So I think I know how to approach it. Essentially, what happens is that this increase in trust that we talked about a few days ago, this can be seen as trust points or trust markers. So those are different signals. So an example would be who it's from. Is it open source? How many people can inspect it? How many people use it? What are support options for it? And then there's something called change of responsibility. So it's, is there an organization that can be held accountable if something's messed up? This is important in the corporate space, even though it might not be big in consumer space. But it was because of a lack of change of responsibility. There was hesitant adoption for open source software, like into the 2010s, and it might still be true today. I don't know. I mean, that's the last time I heard about it. So these things changed over time. And then I also found I did some searching in PC Magazine from the early to mid 90s, and I got 2 price points of Delphi. So I got it in 1989 and 1994, and it dropped about 90% in cost. And also we went from 2400 BPS to 96, so about 4 times faster. So it's about a 40-fold increase. And of course, modern internet's a million times faster, about 1/100th the cost. So there's a precipitous drop in the price, in the actual monetary price of both Linux distributions, as we saw beforehand, that the first ones were about $100, but then it came down to about 20 by 94, and by the time I was in the game, it was down to like $1 or $2. It was 96, I think. So, it became effectively free. And then for download, by the time 96 came around, things were starting to do flat rate internet, so that became effectively free, even though it took a long time over dial-up. And so it's the reason I don't know if it necessarily has any type of intrinsic value for the narrative structure is I thought that the thing that I'm leaving out really, as I talk about type-ins, but I don't really graph it in any kind of quite quantitative way. However, on the premise that there is a limit to how big a program can be if you are imposing on the user to type it in manually, with binary or hexadecimal or whatever. However, the primary system that these were on were Commodore 64s, which are much less capable machines. I'd have to look into it. I don't think they have storage beyond the memory and floppy. Don't think they came with hard drives, I'm pretty sure. And so, it's a much more reasonable ask when the computer is significantly less capable than later on with the average Linux, which if you look at early Slackware betas, SLS, MCCs, It's somewhere between 20 and 50 megs, about 30 on average, depending on how you want the distribution to be. About 30 megs. And so, of course you can't type that in. Yeah, all right. And even floppies starts to look a little crazy at that point. So I think that it's all encompassed in this, right? Is that over time, the effort demanded, if we say effort is money, time, and expertise, it did go down. It's just that now we can sort of label these graphs or this chart a little bit with more clarity, because I can say something like networking, or X11 came in, but it was called X386 at the time. That came in, then networking, then, I don't know, other features. As the effort demanded went down, and we could say that on this dimensional analysis alone, we could demonstrate that. So, I was going to say, all right, does this warrant another slide? The only thing that's not here is the trust aspect, which so I thought of another one. I gotta get going soon. But essentially, it's this idea that you could do, let me just do like Inkscape. Some type of software, sure, this is fine. So, in this one, it looks like that you could say that you had a public domain software, also known as PD. So you have PD software. And then over time, you had Libre, right? What we'll call Libre software. And really what it is this starts all the way over here, right? And this meant free, like, and you didn't have to pay for it. And then Libre software, you could say this existed as something else. But then eventually, you could say that, public domain stopped being a thing. Then what was eventually it's like here. And this is not bad. It merged effectively with Libre. With the exception of shareware. Right. Where are we at? Why can't I see the text? So, all right, shareware. So this is essentially what happened. There was a separate public domain movement that goes back further than this idea of Libre software, which I don't know when you want to give a start date to that. And of course, that's different than a community-built software from like the share organization. That would have to be there somewhere. But then the guy that coined the term shareware also maintained the largest repository of public domain software, the guy of Texas. So that's definitely connected. He's still alive. So saying it's not would be bullshit. But of course, this thing doesn't have all of those freedoms associated with it, right? And there is no. Oh yeah, that's another thing. So beyond that, you could say that there's another one down here, which would be like, oh hello. I don't know when you could consider that. Maybe around the same time period. That'd be like source available. So essentially, like things like Minix or so. It eventually changes license. So if you go to Minix on Wikipedia, let's see, it's where's it at? It's a BSD. See. Oh no, that's userland. I'll try. Here it is. So it was proprietary, then BSD as of 2000. So it became the same OSI. So essentially, this was separate, and then the people that were doing this eventually came down through here. This is separate, and then they came through here, and this would have split over here. That's definitely true. I'm wondering if there's yet another one, because there was like also source available but fuck ton of money. That's a real market. It was never meant to be free. You just pay for it and you gotta sign all these documentations and things like that. I mean, that's still a thing I could say. But yeah, so I guess there's another one down here. Like really expensive over there. That's probably not inaccurate. The question is like, is this useful? Does this really service my narrative that much? That's something I'm currently unconvinced by. Ooh, they're connected. Let me go back to this thing. So that it is the other side of the marketplace, but does it really service? Let's go back to it. Second act, personal computer revolution. I mean, you demonstrate that this became more practical over time, but I think that's self-evident. I don't think that you need to have heavy evidence for that. But again, some of what we looked at, or what I was entertaining the idea of the other day, was that this would be like a 30-second slide. And that might be warranted. Just don't know if it would be assisting or not. Yeah, I don't know. I'm still mixed on it. I mean, I could try to make it. Let me go over the entire thing tonight with that in mind, and then see if I feel like it's needed. You don't include what's not required, right? I don't want to do a hat in a hat. It's not only for jokes, but it's for everything else. You want to have strongest argument in its purest form, right? Unless you think that something else is needed in order to be fully convincing. But I don't know if that's the case here. Anyway, I'll talk later. Again, there's no company right now, but I just wanted to have a monologue about that to nobody.